The man I'm going to introduce is truly a great American. He cares about each and every person in this district, and he will look out. And I shouldn't speak for John, but I think John recognizes the rich can take care of themselves. They've had the Lee Terrys to do it. It's time that somebody represents the rest of us. Ladies and gentlemen, your next Congressman, John Ewing.
How are you? Come on, let's get a little more excited than that. How are you today? I want to make sure I let you know how much I appreciate you being out here today, and I just want you to take note. I think as I started speaking, the sun came out a little brighter. Because I believe that we have a bright future ahead of us here in the 2nd Congressional District. I believe we have a bright future ahead of us as a country. But that can only happen if we elect the right people. We cannot afford, as Vince stated, having 4 more years of Bush on steroids. We cannot afford another $5 trillion of tax cuts for the wealthiest and $2,000 a year in increased taxes for the middle class. That's what they're running on, and that's what Lee Terry is supporting. I'm working and fighting hard every day for each one of you so that you can have a great life in this country, so that you and your children and your grandchildren can have a great future. That's what this election is about. This is probably the most important election in the lives of most of the people standing here.
Amen.
This is a very clear and stark choice right now. To go backward 50 or 60 years in almost every area, or to go forward. That's the choice we have today. That's the choice you'll have in November when you vote for president, when you vote for President Barack Obama and keep this dot blue. That's the choice you'll have when you decide if you're going to have someone who will work with the president or who will vote against him 97% of the time. That's the choice you have in November. And I hope you'll make the right choice, because Lee Terry has not represented this district well. All you have to do is begin to look and think about, well, before I even say it, how many of you have cell phones here today? Hold them up for me. If you have your cell phone, hold it up. If Lee Terry had had his way, you would be receiving robocalls. Hold them up a little bit so we can get some pictures of it. Hold it up. But I want you to think about this. If Lee Terry had been able to get the legislation passed that he wanted, you would be getting robocalls to your cell phones. Not because it's a good thing for you, but because it's a good thing for the telecommunications industry, who has given him thousands of dollars for his re-election campaign. If you think about Lee Terry, I want you to think about the pledges that he's made to you. Vince talked about one. I want you to think about another pledge he made as well. He pledged to the people of this district in 2010 that he would not vote to privatize Medicare. And he's done that twice when voting for the Paul Ryan budget. He also has promised you, like Vince pointed out, that he would only run for 2 or 3 terms. Lee Terry has not kept his promises to the people of this district. He has not worked hard for Offutt Air Force Base. How many missions have we lost at Offutt Air Force Base because Lee Terry would not fight for Offutt and make sure we had the opportunity to have those missions here in this district when it was in this 2nd Congressional District, even though we won by their criteria. at least a couple of those missions, often was number one.
Sorry to interrupt you, John. If you are parked alongside the building, the police need you to move your car right now. Like right now, you are parked in a fire lane. I'm sorry, John.
And as a former police officer, I don't want you to get towed away. So please move. Okay. So I want you to think about the promises that Lee Terry has broken with Offutt Air Force Base to our veterans. I want you to think about Veterans Hospital and the fact that it keeps falling down the list because Lee Terry's not advocating for our veterans. I have never been so ashamed of a congressman than to hear somebody talk about a zombie fence when you're talking about our veterans and laughing about it with his staff. Lee Terry has not worked hard for the people of this district, has not provided leadership. I will work hard for you every day to make sure that we are fighting for the people of this district and fighting for the middle class of this country, because when America has a strong middle class, then America is the greatest nation on the face of this planet and in history. We have got to make sure our middle class is not shrinking. Right now, we have 23 million Americans who are either unemployed, underemployed, or who have quit looking for jobs. They've given up hope. Is that the America we want? Do we want an America where we have a Congress that votes 33 times against the Affordable Health Care Act? No! Or do we want a Congress that says this may not be a perfect bill, but it ensures 30 million Americans and makes sure women aren't discriminated against in their health care costs, and makes sure that people aren't excluded because of pre-existing conditions, and makes sure that we don't have lifetime caps, and make sure that our seniors will have health care? Is that the kind of bill we want?
Yes!
So rather than voting to repeal it, let's figure out how to make it better. That's what bipartisanship is about, making things better for the American people. What we need to be looking at is, how do we get those Americans back to work? The president presented a jobs bill, and it has not had one vote in the House yet. Even if you don't agree with that bill, you should be working on a jobs bill. That should be priority number one for our Congress, and they have failed us. Lee Terry has failed us because he has not exercised the leadership necessary to make his caucus focus on getting Americans back to work. And we need to have Americans back at work, because America works best when Americans are working. We need to make sure that we're rebuilding our infrastructure. We need to make sure that we're having teachers in the classroom. I don't know what we think we're doing when we've lost 300,000 teachers over the last couple of years across this country. But we're number 17 in math and science. I think they're going about it the wrong way. We need to be figuring out how to educate our young people and make sure they have access to a world-class education so that they can compete for the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow. Because at the end of the day, number 17 is not good enough. If Bo Pelini was number 17 consistently as the Nebraska football coach, we wouldn't be saying, way to go, Bo. We'd be saying, Bo's got to go. So why would we accept that in education? Why would we accept less than the best? We also need to make sure that we're investing in our people who've been displaced from the workforce so that they have the skills they need to be successful. And Lee Terry has voted against those things. He's voted to cut taxes for millionaires and done it on the backs of the working class. And that's not acceptable in America. That's not the America that we are. We're better than that. I believe we're in this together. And what I'd like to do just very quickly is share a little story with you. I have a great friend who had a heart transplant about a year ago. And so he had a birthday party recently. And so he had some of his other friends there, and they were talking about the transport games, comparing that to the Olympics. And they were talking about a race that some of the young people were running that day, a 25-yard dash. And they had young people. One of the young people was about 6 years old, and he was more able-bodied than some of the others. He had a friend who was on a walker. He ran the first 24 yards as fast as he could. When he got about a yard from the finish line, he stopped. And everybody's trying to get him across that finish line. But you know what he did? He waited for his friend so they could cross the finish line together. And that's what we should understand. That young 6-year-old understood this, that we are in this together. And so we've got to always recognize we're in this together. We are going to win these elections, but we need your help because we're in this together. This is the greatest opportunity in the history of the 2nd Congressional District to get rid of Lee Terry and get someone who will represent you. I've served this community for over 30 years. I've given you my heart and soul because I care about you, because I care about the people of this district. And I pledge to you that if you will work as hard as I'm willing to work for you, that we will win this election. Even right now, today, we are closer to Lee Terry than any campaign has been at this stage since he's been in office. That is because of your hard work. That is because I've got a great campaign staff that makes me look good, and I'm going to continue to work hard. But we can beat Lee Terry. The question is, do you want Lee Terry replaced or not? Yes! I don't think I heard you. Do you want Lee Terry replaced or not? I can't hear you. Do you want Lee Terry replaced or not? We can do this, but we've got to do it together. That's when America's the greatest. That's when this district is the greatest, when we are working together. Are we going to do this? Yes! Are we going to do this? Yes! Okay, here's what I really want to see if you guys are as excited as we are. So I'm going to divide you up real quick. Starting about right here, that's the first group. The middle is the second group. And then starting over here at Vince, you guys are going to be the third group. Okay, so first group. Your goal is to scream louder than they do when I say, ready to go. Your goal here in the second part is to say, fight. And your goal is to say, and win. So are we ready? Ready to go. Fight and win. Let's get this done. God bless you.